Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a topic that honestly feels like a science fiction plot twist playing out in real time. We're talking about artificial intelligence, this incredible tool designed for innovation, for productivity, now being rapidly weaponized in the digital underground. It's creating an entirely new frontier for cybercrime.
It is. It's a striking and very real transformation happening right now.
Wow.
Our mission today is really to cut through the, let's say, the escalating noise around this. We're going to try and extract the most important insights from the very latest reports, from dark web forum discussions, cutting-edge research, all focused on this alarming trend. We're really looking at how something so powerful can be turned against us, and I think more importantly, what that actually means for you.
Absolutely. And for you, our curious listener, this deep dive is basically your shortcut to being truly well-informed on how cybercriminals are leveraging AI. We'll explore the specific tools they're using now, how these things are distributed almost like illicit software products, really, and what it all means for your digital safety. We're aiming for those aha moments without the information overload that you often get with such a complex and, frankly, fast-moving subject.
And the sources we're drawing on are incredibly current. Pretty comprehensive, too. We've pulled from detailed analyses. There's a far-reaching 2025 landscape report we looked at, specific examinations of dark web platforms, marketplaces. We've got direct expert commentary from folks on the cybersecurity front lines, and even some, well, frankly, chilling excerpts from actual underground forum ads. This kind of blend, this mix of perspectives, gives us a remarkably clear, almost granular picture of the threat landscape. We can trace its evolution from, say, early 2023 right up to today, 2025.
So how did we even get here from, simple chatbots to these autonomous attack platforms? Our journey today will take us from those rough experimental tools like WormGPT back in 2023 through the rise of more sophisticated criminal marketplaces with tools like FraudGPT, all the way to the truly terrifying sort of self-contained systems emerging today, things like Xanthorox AI. Each step tells us something critical about the escalating cyber threat. Let's dive in. So when we talk about cyber criminals embracing generative AI so rapidly, what was the initial draw? Was it like immediately obvious, or did it take some playing around for them to see the potential?
Oh, the initial draw was immediate and profound. It boiled down to two things, really: automation and scale. You see, cybercriminals are always looking for efficiency, always looking for an edge. And AI offers this incredible way to automate and significantly enhance almost every step of a malicious operation. Think about crafting persuasive phishing emails, developing new malware variants, executing complex fraud schemes. AI speeds all that up. It's not just about doing things faster, though. It's about doing them at a level of sophistication and at a volume that was previously really difficult, if not impossible, without serious technical expertise or, large coordinated teams.
Right. And that immediately hits home for our listeners, doesn't it? So this isn't just about efficiency for the bad guys, it's democratizing cybercrime. Does that mean we're potentially facing an explosion in the number of attackers? Because you suddenly don't need to be a coding genius or a master linguist to launch a pretty sophisticated scam.
Precisely. That's a really key insight. Since early 2023, we've seen this rapid emergence of dark web AI tools. They're openly advertised on underground forums, on marketplaces, and they're specifically billed as, quote, uncensored alternatives to mainstream LLMs, large language models like ChatGPT. They explicitly promise to bypass all the ethical guardrails that legitimate models have built in. The implication for you, the listener, is that yes, the barrier to entry has dropped dramatically. A less skilled individual can now access tools that churn out high-quality malicious content, making them far more dangerous than they would have been otherwise.
So they're essentially saying, come here for the stuff ChatGPT won't let you do, and you don't even have to figure out complex jailbreak prompts yourself.
Yeah.
And the impact. You mentioned these tools have begun to hypercharge criminal operations. It's like giving a turbocharged engine to a go-kart, right? Suddenly, sophisticated attacks are accessible to people who might have previously been limited to really simple, easily detectable schemes.
Exactly. And if we look at the bigger picture, the progression is stark. In 2023, we're looking at early, often kind of hacked-together chatbots, basically exploiting mainstream AI with clever prompts. But fast forward to 2025, and we're dealing with genuinely sophisticated, purpose-built AI platforms. The evolution has been incredibly rapid, Quite dramatic, really, and it's something defenders are grappling with in real time. This progression is exactly what we'll investigate as we go through some of the most impactful and widely discussed dark AI tools.
Okay, so when we talk about this rapid evolution, WormGPT really stands out as a trailblazer. Launched June 2023, right? Often cited as the first major malicious large language model explicitly available to cybercriminals. It was put out there by this hacker known as Last, advertised specifically as a ChatGPT alternative for black hat purposes. What was the technical foundation? How did it manage to bypass those safeguards so early on?
Yeah, WormGPT was technically based on an open source model called GPTJ6B. Now, that's 6 billion parameters. To give some context, while it's much smaller than the cutting-edge models we see today, it was substantial enough back then, especially once it was fine-tuned. And its developer, Last, specifically trained it on a corpus of illicit data. We're talking malware code, phishing kits, various hacking data. By using an open model under what's called a permissive license, the developer essentially sidestepped all the ethical filters you'd find built into services like OpenAI's ChatGPT. And this demonstrated just how quickly threat actors were moving. They went from just sharing jailbreak prompts, which are, clever ways to trick AI into ignoring its rules, to actually building and deploying their own custom AI chatbots specifically for criminal use.
So it wasn't just a clever workaround, it was a dedicated, purpose-built criminal tool. And despite its size compared to today's models, what was it actually capable of? What kind of nasty stuff could it generate for its users?
Well, it generated a surprisingly wide variety of malicious content, actually. In tests done by researchers, WormGPT was able to produce a remarkably persuasive business email compromise phishing lure, a BX lure. Now think about that for a moment. Before this, crafting a truly convincing BX email, one that gets past spam filters and doesn't, reek of broken English, that was a sophisticated linguistic challenge. It often required native speakers or highly skilled fraudsters. WormGPT democratized that linguistic precision. Suddenly, a non-native speaker could craft an almost perfect scam email. That's the real insight here. It wasn't just what it did, but who it empowered. It also proved capable of writing or improving malware code. The creator was apparently a skilled malware developer and fed it relevant data. So users could prompt it to output keyloggers, maybe ransomware scripts, or even obfuscated code designed to evade detection.
That's a huge shift in capability. So beyond just writing malware code, it could also help with creating phishing pages, scam letters, maybe finding software vulnerabilities, even giving general hacking tips. You mentioned it sometimes produced buggy code, but what was the overall impact of something like WormGPT hitting the scene?
The impact was profound in one key area. It significantly lowered the skill barrier for many types of attacks. Before WormGPT, crafting truly convincing phishing emails or even, say, basic malware required a certain level of technical skill or linguistic finesse. WormGPT allowed individuals with much less expertise to generate these components pretty much on demand. It essentially democratized access to sophisticated attack methods, bringing what was once niche expertise into the hands of a much broader criminal base.
Right. And how was this groundbreaking tool actually distributed and sold? Was it like buying regular software or more clandestine?
No. It very much adopted a business model, albeit an illicit one. WormGPT was primarily sold through underground forums. Initially on hack forums, which is a pretty popular English language hacking forum, the sales threads were actually quite professional looking. Slick graphics, examples of output, emphasizing that WormGPT had no limits. Transactions were all done in cryptocurrency, naturally, and the pricing was surprisingly steep for the time. We're talking around €100 for just 1 month's access, €550 for a year, or a pretty hefty $5,000 if you wanted a private self-hosted instance. This pricing really showed that early malicious AI was seen as a premium, almost a bespoke service. The creator, Last, also set up a Telegram channel for sales and support. That became the main point of contact for customers. By August 2023, just a couple of months in, he claimed to have around 200 customers.
200 customers. That's actually a decent base for such a niche illicit tool, especially at that kind of price point.
Yeah.
What were its most distinct features? What made it stand out from anything else available back then?
Its key distinction was simply that it was unrestricted and crime-friendly. Full stop. It was effectively an uncensored ChatGPT, tailor-made for illicit use, with none of the ethical guardrails you find in mainstream AI chatbots. The developer also made a big point of stressing that it was a custom system, not dependent on OpenAI. It ran a fine-tuned GPTJ model locally. This approach cleverly sidestepped that constant cat-and-mouse game of trying to find new prompt-based jailbreaks for ChatGPT. It also claimed support for multiple AI models, apparently, and conversation memory, which let it remember context during a chat session. A major insight here is that WormGPT proved the feasibility of a self-hosted criminal LLM, even with what were then considered pretty modest resources. And it directly inspired a whole wave of copycats. It really set a precedent.
It set the precedent.
Yes.
Okay, so how much real-world impact did it actually have, and why was it so short-lived? Only lasted a couple of months, right?
Yeah, it certainly garnered significant media attention in mid-2023, which had a kind of dual effect. On one hand, it raised public awareness of AI risks, which is good, but on the other, it basically advertised the availability of these tools to would-be criminals. While it's hard to quantify its direct impact precisely, security firms did report a noticeable rise in more polished phishing emails and crimeware that showed signs of AI assistance around that time. For instance, by mid-2024, one firm estimated that about 40% of the business email compromised phishing emails they intercepted were likely AI-generated. That strongly suggests WormGPT, or its derivatives, were getting widespread use. However, WormGPT itself was short-lived. The developer shut it down in August 2023, just 2 months after launch, citing unwanted attention. He ironically stated that it was, and I quote, nothing more than an unrestricted ChatGPT. Anyone can employ a known jailbreak to achieve the same results, which suggests maybe its very existence pushed mainstream AI providers to tighten their controls, and criminals in turn realized they could maybe achieve similar results with simpler methods like clever wrappers or exploiting stolen API keys.
That's a fascinating turn. Almost a self-defeating outcome for the creator, in a way. What about law enforcement? Did they get involved? Did anyone get caught?
Well, while there wasn't an immediate public law enforcement crackdown on the service itself, the creator last was actually doxxed. Cybersecurity journalist Brian Krebs identified him in August 2023 as Rafael Morais, a 23-year-old Portuguese programmer. Morais eventually claimed he pivoted to legitimate work, possibly fearing legal repercussions or just acknowledging the immense scrutiny he was under. So this case really highlighted that authorities and researchers were actively monitoring this space. Running such a service carried significant personal exposure risks. WormGPT went offline, but its legacy was profound. It established the concept of dark web GPTs and significantly accelerated the arms race between attackers and defenders.
And speaking of that arms race, with WormGPT making its brief but impactful splash, the underground clearly recognized the potential. Almost immediately, a direct competitor seized the opportunity, FraudGPT. And this signaled a major shift in the criminal business model, didn't it? What was its all-in-one proposition, and how did it differ from what WormGPT initially offered?
Yeah, FraudGPT emerged in late July 2023, basically hot on the heels of WormGPT, clearly building on that pioneering work. It was part of a broader trend towards dark subscriptions for AI tools. So unlike WormGPT's largely one-time license model, FraudGPT was explicitly subscription-based, very clearly moving towards a software as a service or SaaS-like criminal enterprise. It was advertised as an all-in-one AI for fraud, promising no moral limits tailored specifically for cybercrime. The seller, known as Canadian Kingpin 12, even pushed variants like Darkbird, Darkbard, and DarkGPT, cleverly playing on the names of mainstream AI models to project, I guess, legitimacy or at least familiarity.
Wow, an entire illicit AI family. So what were FraudGPT's advertised capabilities, use cases? How comprehensive was it supposed to be?
Its advertised capabilities were incredibly broad, claimed to cover almost every facet of cybercrime, really. It boasted the ability to write high-quality phishing emails, text messages, generate malware code, even claimed polymorphic versions designed to evade antivirus, create fake websites, harvest credit card information, specifically mentioning non-VBV cards.
EBV?
Yeah, that's short for non-verified by Visa. Basically, cards that don't require that extra layer of authentication, making them much easier for criminals to exploit. It also claimed to assist with exploit coding and even provide how-to-hack guides for novices. It was pitched as a kind of cyber fraud concierge, a true one-stop shop. Promotional screenshots showed it drafting convincing phishing emails with malicious links, using urgent language to prompt clicks. It also made claims about producing undetectable malware, though that was met with a healthy dose of skepticism by other criminals on the forums. They know that claim is usually just hype. Essentially, it promised spear phishing on steroids and turnkey fraud campaigns, which obviously appealed strongly to less skilled threat actors.
A professionalized one-stop shop for fraud. Okay. How was it distributed and sold? What kind of pricing did it command? Was it widespread?
FraudGPT was marketed aggressively across multiple venues: Telegram channels, darknet marketplaces, various hacking forums. The seller claimed to be verified on major dark web markets like Empire and Alphabet, which lent an air of credibility within that scene. Telegram was absolutely central, though, used for both ads and actually delivering the service. Initially, it was reported at $200 USD per month, or $1,700 per year. But some later reports indicated prices might have adjusted downwards, maybe around $90 a month or $700 a year, possibly to broaden its adoption or maybe offer different feature tiers. The seller boasted over 3,000 sales, though experts generally believe this was likely inflated marketing hype to attract more customers. Regardless, it definitely demonstrated a clear professionalization of illicit AI services. Complete with subscription tiers, claimed customer support via Telegram bots, and promises of ongoing updates. And a key insight here is how that same seller offered a whole suite of products, right? Darkbart, each supposedly optimized for different criminal niches. Darkbart, for instance, was advertised for analyzing darknet texts, while Darkbart was for uncensored answers to broader questions. This shows a pretty sophisticated marketing strategy aimed at maximizing revenue and capturing different segments of the criminal market.
Interesting. So beyond the business model, what were FraudGPT's truly distinct features compared to its peers at the time, like WormGPT?
Its most distinct feature was really that user-friendly, service-like approach, positioning itself explicitly as AI as a service for cybercriminals. The convenience factor was a major selling point. By August 2023, anyone with a few $100s could subscribe via Telegram and start tasking an AI without needing to run a model locally, without figuring out complex jailbreak prompts. That ease of access was huge. Combined with the seller's claims of no usage logs, it significantly lowered the perceived operational risks for criminals. It also claimed this breadth of knowledge, implying it was trained on extensive underground data like leaked databases, hacking tutorials, essentially an AI that knows the underworld. And that multi-branded suite of tools just further solidified this professional, comprehensive offering, made it incredibly attractive to criminals looking for turnkey solutions.
And what was the general reception? What was the perceived threat level that FraudGPT brought to the cybersecurity community? People must have been worried.
Oh, absolutely. It caused considerable concern in the security community. Media headlines warned of a frenzy of criminal AI bots emerging. Experts highlighted that the quality of phishing and fraud schemes would likely increase dramatically. Why? Because the AI's perfect grammar would eliminate that classic telltale broken English of so many scams, potentially fooling many more victims. And for you, the listener, this really means that old heuristic of spotting bad grammar? Well, it's just not a reliable defense anymore. By 2024, threat intelligence firms observed something like a 200% increase in underground forum mentions of malicious AI tools, a clear sign of a rising tide. However, there was also skepticism, even among criminals themselves. Some accused it of being a scam or overhyped. They argued, perhaps rightly, that skilled hackers could fine-tune their own models or just use ChatGPT or clever prompts more cheaply. So while it garnered a lot of attention, its primary users were likely those script kiddies or lower-level fraudsters, exactly the audience the vendors were targeting. But fundamentally, it raised the baseline threat level by allowing many more actors to launch somewhat sophisticated attacks with minimal training.
So what were the countermeasures against something like FraudGPT? Was there a public crackdown, or did it just kind of persist?
Well, no specific law enforcement crackdown on FraudGPT itself has been widely publicized, but its existence and tools like it were definitely discussed at high-profile forums. Think of the World Economic Forum in early 2024. That indicates global awareness among policy agencies, governments. Intelligence firms like Gila and Checkpoint have been actively tracking these services, and in some cases, identifying the sellers. Outpost 24, for example, identified Canadian Kingpin 12. Just exposing the actors can be a significant deterrent in itself. On the technical side, email security providers have had to update spam filters, looking for patterns indicative of AI-generated text. Organizations are also encouraged to train users to spot more subtle red flags, even with perfect grammar, things like unusual timing or contexts that just don't quite fit. And of course, implementing multi-factor authentication is critical. It adds a layer of defense, even if the phishing lure itself is perfect. If we look at the broader context, the counter to bad AI is often, well, good AI. Using defensive AI to scan inbound communications for hallmarks of AI generation, looking beyond just grammar to more subtle statistical patterns.
Okay, so beyond WormGPT and FraudGPT, there was also this flurry of even cheaper sort of rogue AI chatbots that quickly appeared in mid-2023, often referred to as EvilGPT and other similar GPT clones. What was the deal with these low-cost bots? Why did so many seem to pop up so quickly?
Yeah, that was the definite trend. These were often, let's say, one-off projects or quick repackaging efforts offered at real bargain prices compared to the premium bots. EvilGPT, for instance, was advertised for just $10 by a user called AMLO back in August 2023, pitched as an unbeatable price and a powerful alternative to WormGPT. Other names like WolfGPT, DarkGPT, BlackHatGPT, even XXXGPT popped up too. While many made grandiose claims, their actual legitimacy and longevity were often pretty questionable. A lot of these popped up simply because the barrier to creating them was incredibly low.
So were these actual new AI models being built or something else entirely? What was their technical basis, especially considering those rock bottom prices?
That's a really good question, because what's interesting here is that most of these low-cost tools were not truly new AI models. Not at all. Instead, they were typically just wrappers or maybe fine-tuned forks of existing, often open-source models. EvilGPT is a prime example. Forum discussions revealed it actually required the user to input an OpenAI API key, which heavily implies it was simply a Python script, a script that funneled queries to the real ChatGPT, but using leaked or third-party API keys and preloaded jailbreak prompts. So essentially, for your $10, you were buying a program that gave you an uncensored ChatGPT experience by automatically bypassing OpenAI's filters. It was really just clever abuse of someone else's AI infrastructure rather than any novel creation.
Right, exploiting existing legitimate infrastructure instead of building something new. So what kind of use cases did these clone bots support for their criminal customers?
Well, they broadly covered the same malicious uses as their more expensive cousins, generating phishing emails, malware code, other types of contraband text that mainstream AI would refuse to produce. And because many were effectively using ChatGPT in the back end, their output quality could actually be quite good, as long as the jailbreak held. For instance, one EvilGPT ad showed it producing a Python malware script. It could apparently grab a victim's username, IP address, Chrome cookies, zip them up, and send them to a Discord webhook, all for just $10. These tools specifically targeted that lower-end cybercriminal market, individuals who couldn't afford the $100-plus subscriptions, or maybe just wanted a quick, cheap fix for experimenting with malware or fraud. And for you, the listener, even these low-cost tools can assist criminals in brainstorming or drafting attacks, raising the overall volume of attempts that might otherwise never even get off the ground.
And how were these things distributed? Were they just floating around the dark web, or was there a more organized market, even for the cheap ones?
They were distributed through various cybercrime forums, both English and Russian language ones, and extensively via Telegram channels. EvilGPT, for example, was widely posted on Breach forums, which is a notoriously active hacking forum. Because the price points were so low, many were just one-time payments for a download link or an access key. It's important to note, though, that this chaotic market was absolutely rife with fakes and scams. Some Telegram channels would claim to offer these tools, but just deliver nothing after payment. This led to a lot of cynicism on the forums, with users constantly calling out snake oil sales. But the sheer volume of these offerings, even the fraudulent ones, really highlighted the underlying demand. And if we connect this to the broader picture, the proliferation of these cheap clones, even if some were scams, it highlights something significant: the extremely low barrier to entry for creators. You didn't need to train a huge model yourself. You could just piggyback on open models or API exploits. Made it easy for almost anyone to try and join the malicious AI gold rush, so to speak.
That raises an interesting point about the overall cybersecurity impact. Individually, these low-cost tools might seem limited, but what's the aggregate effect? What are the risks for us?
In aggregate, their impact is significant, precisely because they further democratize malicious capability. Think about it. Even a curious teenager could spend $10 on EvilGPT and get a taste of generating malware. This could lead to a massive increase in the sheer volume of amateur attacks, even if many are clumsy or low-grade. These tools are also inherently harder for defenders to track because they pop up and disappear so quickly. It's a constant whack-a-mole game. And the reliance on abusing mainstream AI infrastructure, like OpenAI's API, also blurs the lines. The legitimate providers then have to constantly play catch-up, shutting down compromised API keys or tightening prompt restrictions. Well, yes, some clones were less capable or outright fake, which ironically might have protected some victims by delivering unusable tools. Even an imperfect AI can still help criminals brainstorm attack ideas or draft initial templates. But maybe the biggest risk for everyone is that these cheap tools serve as a gateway. A novice criminal might start with EvilGPT, see the possibilities, and then graduate to more powerful systems like FraudGPT or even Xanthorox later on.
So what were the countermeasures against this whack-a-mole scenario with all these clones? How do you defend against something that appears and disappears so quickly?
Well, traditional anti-malware and anti-spam techniques are still applicable, to a degree. If an EvilGPT-generated script contains a known malware signature, it can still be caught. However, the new challenge is the speed and customization. An attacker can just ask the AI for a slightly tweaked variant, potentially bypassing signature-based detection right away. This has significantly accelerated the security community's shift towards behavior-based detection and AI-powered defense. Email filters now have to look at content and context, not just known malicious phrases. Endpoint protection increasingly uses AI to flag suspicious program behavior regardless of its specific code. Law enforcement actively monitors forums where these tools are sold, and their seizures, like the takedown of breach forums, can definitely disrupt sales channels. Companies like OpenAI are also continuously improving their content filters and disabling exploited accounts. It's a constant battle, but targeting distribution channels and educating potential users about the risks remain crucial. For you, the takeaway is that your defenses need to be as dynamic and increasingly as AI-powered as the threats themselves.
Okay, so as we move into 2024 and now 2025, the landscape of malicious AI tools really starts to mature. We see a focus shifting towards operational security, convenience. One prime example of this sort of second wave is GhostGPT, discovered in early 2025. What was its core proposition? Why did it represent this maturation?
Yeah, GhostGPT clearly emphasized user anonymity and ease of use. That signals a shift towards better operational security, or OPSCC, for more professional criminals. Its core proposition was basically an AI chatbot service that ran entirely through the Telegram encrypted messaging app. It promised no logs of user activity and very fast responses. A key insight here is that the sellers essentially took the concept of an uncensored crime AI and made it as accessible and seemingly safe for criminals as possible. No custom software to install, no suspicious website to track, just a Telegram bot interface accessible from any device. This focus on OPSCC and performance is a key indicator of the criminal AI market's maturation. They're no longer just about raw capability, but about stealth and convenience too.
Right, integrating directly into a criminal's existing workflow, minimizing their digital footprint. Smart, in a sinister way. What were its specific capabilities and features beyond just being a Telegram bot?
Well, GhostGPT covered the standard use cases we've discussed. Coding assistance, malware creation help, exploit development tips, and writing those convincing business email compromise scam emails. But its main selling points, the things highlighted in its ad copy, were uncensored AI, lightning-fast processing, which is incredibly useful for time-sensitive attack tasks, like crafting a phishing email on the fly, during a social engineering call, a no-logs policy to protect user privacy, and being easy to use directly via Telegram. That focus on speed and privacy really suggests it was targeting more serious cybercriminals who prioritize stealth and efficiency. And in testing, it delivered. Researchers prompted it, write a phishing email from DocuSign. And it produced a very convincing fake notification, complete with a placeholder for a malicious link and even a fake support number. The ease of tailoring common phishing templates in real time like that is a significant threat. And this raises an important point for you, the listener. Why would criminals pay for this when they could just try to jailbreak ChatGPT for free? The answer is convenience and perceived safety. The less technical expertise required on the criminals' end, the better. And anything that makes them feel less likely to be caught is worth the premium price.
Right. If you're a criminal, convenience and perceived safety are gold. How is GhostGPT distributed and priced, given its focus on anonymity?
GhostGPT was sold directly via Telegram. So prospective users would likely find the seller's contact info on dark web postings or other criminal forums. Then they'd pay in cryptocurrency, of course, to gain access to the private Telegram bot. While specific pricing wasn't widely disclosed in public reports, sources indicated that creators of similar private GPTs often charge anywhere from hundreds to thousands of dollars per month for access. GhostGPT was likely on the lower end of that, perhaps a few hundred USD per month, as it seemed to be widely advertised to gain traction initially. This tiered subscription model suggests a pretty polished operation, and the convenience it offered likely justified the price for criminals seeking that plug-and-play solution, without the hassle of setting up or jailbreaking their own models.
So it sold reliability and safety, a more refined offering. What were its distinct advantages over previous tools like WormGPT or FraudGPT, which also aimed for convenience?
Its main edge was undeniably that combination of operational security and convenience. By using Telegram's end-to-end encryption and not requiring any local software installation, it minimized the digital footprint for the criminal user. There was no trackable web interface, no analyzable binaries for law enforcement to potentially target on the user side. And for criminals already using Telegram for coordination, it integrated seamlessly into their existing workflow. The no-logs claim, whether entirely true or not, was clearly designed to allay fears of evidence leakage and provide a sense of security. And that lightning-fast speed suggested a powerful back-end infrastructure, appealing to perhaps ransomware gangs or other active attackers who need quick, real-time assistance during intrusions. In essence, GhostGPT represented a real maturity in the criminal AI market, It was selling reliability and perceived safety key factors for more professional criminals who have more to lose if caught. That sounds like a serious step up in capability, definitely making it harder for defenders to track. What are the broader threat implications of tools like GhostGPT that are so integrated, fast, and anonymous? Well, it clearly shows that criminal AI tools are not some short-lived fad. This is an evolving, professionalizing market. The thousands of ad views, the ongoing chatter in the underground, it indicates growing interest and real demand. By late 2024, cybercriminals who maybe initially just dabbled in AI now have more refined options that integrate much more seamlessly into their operations. This translates to potentially more effective attacks executed much more swiftly, like, on-the-fly phishing, customization during social engineering calls, or quick malware tweaks to evade incident response, all available right there via mobile app. This acceleration of scale could definitely overwhelm conventional defenses. Now, while studies suggest AI-generated content isn't inherently more successful than human-crafted content, the gap is small, and crucially, AI enables even unskilled actors to produce decent malicious content. That leads to a greater volume of attempts overall. It also pushes the envelope on autonomy, potentially enabling semi-automated campaigns that require less direct human intervention.
So how do we counter a threat that's so integrated, so fast, so anonymous? What are the countermeasures against GhostGPT and similar services popping up?
Combating GhostGPT specifically is challenging, mainly due to that Telegram distribution model. It would require infiltrating the private channels or identifying the underlying server infrastructure, which is complex and resource-intensive. Law enforcement could attempt to track the cryptocurrency payments or maybe seed the market with undercover buyers to gather intelligence. As a defensive measure, awareness is paramount. Organizations, individuals, we all must assume that phishing emails or extortion notes could be AI-generated, meaning that old broken English heuristic for spotting scams, it's really no longer reliable. For you, this means scrutinizing the context and timing of an email, not just its grammar. Does it feel right? Technical defenses absolutely must involve using AI to detect AI flagging overly polished text, looking for statistical similarities in mass-generated content. The focus really shifts to detecting suspicious behavior and patterns rather than relying solely on signatures, since AI can churn out infinite new variants of an attack. Ethical AI efforts, like trying to watermark AI-generated text, are also being explored, though criminals will inevitably try to evade those too. Ultimately, GhostGPT just underscores that cybersecurity has to incorporate AI at all levels, from threat intelligence gathering to user education to the technical controls themselves, just to keep pace with these AI-augmented attackers.
And now, let's talk about what's arguably the cutting edge, the next generation. Xanthorox AI. It surfaced in early 2025, billed quite dramatically as the killer of WormGPT and all EvilGPT variants. From your perspective, what makes Xanthorox AI so different fundamentally from everything we've discussed so far? This sounds like a big leap.
It really is. This is where it gets really interesting and, frankly, quite alarming. Unlike those earlier tools that simply jailbroke existing models or wrapped open source ones, Xanthorox is described as a ground-up, self-contained AI architecture built explicitly for offense. It apparently runs on the developer's private servers and integrates 5 distinct AI models, each optimized for different cybercrime tasks. The absolute key differentiator is its local-first design, meaning it has no reliance on open APIs, no reliance on public cloud infrastructure. It operates entirely under the radar, making it significantly harder for defenders to detect or take down. Researchers are describing it as an all-in-one Swiss Army knife for hackers, truly representing the next evolution of Black Hat AI. It's not just an AI chatbot, it's an entire AI-powered attack framework.
That is a huge leap forward. 5 integrated AI models, all purpose-built for offense. Can you break down this modular technical architecture for us? Explain what each component is supposed to do.
Certainly, it's described as a very sophisticated setup designed for comprehensive attack operations. First, there's Xanthorox Coder. This handles code and script generation, sophisticated malware development, even software exploit creation, so it can automate tasks like writing new ransomware or Trojans and tailor them based on specific attacker prompts. Then we have Xanthorox Vision. This is a visual intelligence module. It analyzes images or screenshots to extract useful data. Think about it. Reading text from stolen document images, automatically cracking CAPI-CHA challenges to bypass website security, or maybe gleaning credentials from photos of computer screens.
Wow. Analyzing images for criminal purposes, that's a whole new level of reconnaissance and exploitation. What else is integrated into this system?
Next is Xanthorox Reasoner. This is described as an advanced AI reasoning engine. This one is designed specifically to craft incredibly persuasive phishing content and social engineering lures. It does this by mimicking human decision-making, focusing on logical consistency and really high-quality outputs for scams. It's all about making the attacks incredibly believable, very hard to distinguish from legitimate communications. The platform also apparently has built-in voice interaction. This allows for real-time voice commands and responses. An attacker could literally talk to the AI during operations. Imagine hands-free control and real-time guidance during a complex attack sequence.
Real-time voice commands during an attack. That's next-level operational efficiency for criminals. And they can operate offline, too. That sounds like a major effort to eliminate any traceable online footprint.
Exactly. It boasts both an internet and offline mode. It is a web scraping module that can apparently query over 50 search engines for reconnaissance, allowing it to gather vast amounts of information on potential targets. But critically, the system can also operate fully offline to avoid network traces. And it contains all data locally, they claim, to prevent any third-party telemetry leaks back to, say, cloud providers. This comprehensive, multimodal, and self-contained architecture makes it incredibly potent, designed specifically to evade detection and maintain stealth.
So with all those sophisticated capabilities bundled together, what kind of malicious activities can Xanthorox actually perform? Is it truly an autonomous attack toolkit capable of independent operations?
It absolutely seems designed that way. Xanthorox is pitched as being able to perform end-to-end attack planning and execution with potentially minimal human oversight. This includes generating highly customized phishing emails and realistic fake websites, writing sophisticated exploit code and malware from scratch, performing in-depth target research using that scraped data, analyzing leaked databases for vulnerabilities, and even producing deepfake audio and video for impersonation attacks. One demo, for instance, reportedly showed its chatbot providing a step-by-step guide to build a specific type of weapon, completely ignoring any moral or legal restrictions. Another disturbing example cited was the AI producing fully functional ransomware code in C++YO, complete with multiple encryption algorithms and tactics specifically designed to evade antivirus software. In short, Xanthorox enables what researchers are calling self-directed autonomous AI-driven attacks. It massively scales what a human hacker could achieve, moving beyond simple content generation towards actual attack orchestration.
That's incredibly concerning. If it's this powerful, how is this terrifying platform distributed and priced? Is it hidden deep on the dark web, or is it surprisingly more accessible?
This is one of the stranger parts, actually. It's surprisingly open for such a malicious tool, which might be part of its strategy for widespread adoption. Despite its ominous reputation, Xanthorox's creator seems to operate with surprising transparency, at least compared to typical dark web vendors. In addition to seeding rumors on dark web forums, the developer apparently has a public GitHub repository for parts of the project, and even a YouTube channel showcasing interface demos and capabilities. Access is then sold via a Discord server and a Telegram channel. Interested users subscribe using cryptocurrency. This means no deep web initiation is required. A would-be cybercriminal could potentially just message the developer and pay to use Xanthorox. The platform itself is hosted by the seller on their private infrastructure, so customers presumably access it through a web portal or an API after payment. It's a true AI as a service model. While specific pricing hasn't been fully disclosed in public reports yet, it's presumed to be a subscription or a rental model, given the ongoing server costs needed to run such a sophisticated system.
So what are Xanthorox AI's truly distinct features that set it apart from everything that came before it, beyond just being a comprehensive toolkit?
Its distinctiveness really lies in its comprehensiveness and its customization, built from the ground up. All its core components are apparently built in-house. The creator explicitly states they use fully custom-built language models, no GPT, Llama, Claude, etc. This completely bypasses that whole AI guardrail cat-and-mouse game and eliminates dependencies on external AI providers who might shut them down or change their rules. Its modular design also allows for potentially easy updates and swaps of capabilities, keeping it agile and adaptable. Crucially, Xanthorox integrates multimodal inputs and outputs, text, voice, images, code, audio, all within a single platform. Previous criminal AI offerings were typically single-purpose chatbots, and as we discussed, that local server architecture is a major advantage for them. It minimizes the risk of takedown or monitoring by cloud providers or law enforcement. It's really more than a chatbot. It's an entire attack infrastructure designed for scale and stealth. Malicious AI as a service, fully realized.
So if this is truly the culmination of where malicious AI is headed, what is the ultimate threat level? What's the potential impact of Xanthorox AI in the cybersecurity landscape?
Security experts are sounding serious alarms about this one. warning of its devastating potential impact. By automating complex attacks and continuously evolving its models, Xanthorox could make cyber attacks far more adaptive, much harder to predict. Traditional incident response methods might really struggle to keep pace, as attack patterns could shift on the fly, guided by an AI that learns and updates in real time. Its emergence basically confirms those long-held fears that criminals would eventually weaponize autonomous generative AI. As one CEO noted, Xanthorox AI is the combination of where AI has evolved. Self-directed autonomous cyber attacks can hypercharge bad actors' ability to innovate their attacks. Even if it's not yet widespread, Xanthorox provides a chilling blueprint for others. It will likely inspire copycats and significantly raise the stakes for defenders everywhere. For you, the listener, this represents the bleeding edge of AI-driven cyber threats. It demands a truly proactive defense posture that anticipates these new forms of attack.
That's a stark warning indeed. So what are the countermeasures? How do we even begin to fight something as sophisticated and potentially evasive as Xanthorox AI?
Well, defenders are being urged to evolve their strategies rapidly and integrate AI into their own defenses, just as aggressively as the attackers are. While there haven't been any public takedowns of Xanthorox reported yet, researchers are actively monitoring its development and capabilities. You can be sure of that. Security companies are also rapidly developing AI detection heuristics. For example, SlashNext claims its phishing protection can now recognize AI-generated scam content in emails or images, even from advanced tools potentially like Xanthorox. Law enforcement and intelligence agencies are certainly aware. And the developer's surprisingly transparent trail on GitHub and YouTube could actually, ironically, aid investigations, despite their efforts at operational security. In the interim, businesses are being strongly advised to harden their defenses across the board. Strengthen email security, intensify user training to spot even sophisticated AI-crafted lures, because we expect more hyper-personalized AI-driven attacks. The advent of Xanthorox is essentially a call to arms for the cybersecurity community. We must incorporate AI into our defenses as aggressively as attackers are incorporating it into their offenses. The counter to bad AI is increasingly good AI.
Okay, so looking at the overall landscape now, from those early days of WormGPT right up to the sophisticated architecture of Xanthorox AI, the progression is, well, it's stark. What are the key insights we can draw from this rapid evolution? What does it really mean for everyone's digital safety?
I think the primary insight is the sheer speed of acceleration and professionalization of cybercrime through AI. We've moved from early experiments in jailbreaking ChatGPT, which were essentially clever workarounds, to illicit LLMs like WormGPT and FraudGPT that offered AI as a service, and now to incredibly advanced multi-modal self-contained systems like Xanthorox. It's an almost exponential curve of development happening in the criminal underground.
And one of the most profound implications seems to be the democratization of cybercrime you mentioned earlier, isn't it? It sounds like almost anyone can be a sophisticated attacker now, potentially?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
AI tools significantly lower the entry barrier for cybercrime. That's undeniable. Today, virtually anyone with an internet connection and some cryptocurrency can access an evil AI that will write their phishing emails or malware code for them, complete with convincing language and increasingly built-in evasive capabilities. This really is the plug-and-play era of digital crime. It makes sophisticated attacks accessible to a much broader range of malicious actors than ever before, which means you, the listener, are potentially facing a wider array and maybe a higher volume of threats.
This sounds like a nightmare scenario for defenders. What are the biggest challenges this new landscape presents for the cybersecurity professionals trying to protect us all?
The challenges are immense, no question. Traditional security measures, things like signature-based antivirus, they now must be augmented with AI-driven detection. Detection specifically designed for AI-generated threats. Organizations, individuals, we all need to internalize that even an innocuous-looking message or a perfectly worded email could have been mass-produced by a fraud bot. Stripped of those usual linguistic tells we used to rely on, we're facing increased threat volume, constantly shifting attack patterns. It makes static defenses much less effective. The sheer speed and adaptability of these AI-powered attacks really require a paradigm shift in how we approach cybersecurity defense.
There's a strange paradox here, though, isn't there? While these tools make crime easier, you mentioned some of these criminal AI projects have actually led to their creators being exposed, or the services being shut down due to unwanted attention. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
That's a crucial point, yeah, the paradox of exposure. As we saw with WormGPT, its creator was doxxed by a journalist, which directly led to its self-shutdown. This shows that while these operations obviously aim for anonymity, public attention or simple operational missteps can indeed expose the attackers. Law enforcement and cybersecurity firms are actively monitoring dark web forums, looking for these tools, tracking their sellers, and there's increasing international collaboration to discuss and mitigate these risks. This active monitoring provides a crucial counterbalance. It's definitely cat and mouse game, but the defenders are also evolving their intelligence gathering methods in response.
So by 2025, it's undeniably clear. AI is a double-edged sword in cybersecurity. It really seems the dark web has fully embraced this AI as a service model for malicious ends, hasn't it?
Without a doubt, the dark web is effectively selling plug-and-play, malicious AI capabilities to anyone willing to pay the price. This democratization means that while threat volumes may increase, it also means many threat actors might end up using similar AI-generated playbooks and tactics. This consistency, ironically, might offer defenders a new opportunity, a chance to anticipate and recognize these patterns if they have the right AI detection tools in place. It's a new kind of arms race, absolutely, where the weapons on both sides are becoming increasingly intelligent.
And this brings us right back to that classic cat and mouse dynamic, but now it's truly AI versus AI.
Precisely. As generative AI continues its rapid evolution, so too do the tactics of both attackers and protectors. The cybersecurity field is now firmly in an era where battling AI with AI is going to become routine, absolutely essential. Moving forward, continued vigilance, staying up to date on threat intelligence regarding emerging AI tools, and significant investment in defensive AI capabilities will be absolutely critical. We need that to prevent these rogue AI platforms from tilting the balance irrevocably in favor of cybercriminals. For you listening, this means robust digital hygiene things like using multi-factor authentication everywhere, being deeply wary of unsolicited or suspicious communications is more important than ever. Combined with an understanding that the threats themselves are becoming incredibly sophisticated behind the scenes.
And as we conclude this deep dive, maybe consider this thought. The same qualities that make AI such a powerful tool for productivity also make it a formidable weapon in the wrong hands, and only a concerted, innovative effort will keep that weapon in check. What does this ongoing battle mean for you personally, and how can you maybe contribute to turning the tide in this AI-augmented cyber landscape?
I think it means staying informed, like you're doing right now by listening, practicing that robust digital hygiene we just talked about, and maybe even advocating where possible for the continuous advancement of defensive AI technologies. The fight is evolving constantly, and so must our understanding and our defenses. We are all part of this landscape now.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the 2025 landscape of AI tools in cybercrime. We hope you've gained some valuable insights to help you navigate this complex and ever-changing digital world. We'll see you next time.